Gus Roberts, you are my #1 installer.
And who better to train up more Gus Robertses than Gus Roberts himself?
The last thing I need is some clueless millennial mouth breather cluttering up my van.
Elton, I really should have asked you to wait outside.
Hello, we're here to fix your broadband.
You ever had a paranormal experience?
This is my YouTube channel.
Most Haunted Institute of the criminally
Insane.
I don't want anything to do with ghosts ever again.
How? I think I'm being chased by ghosts. I saw a smouldering ghost. Can you help me?
Something is not right. We need to find out what it is.
You're just scratching the surface. There's a bigger world out there.
You're in danger.
These aren't just restless spirits. These are malevolent entities.
Welcome, truth seekers.
What an old ham.
How long is this boring bastard gonna be waffling on?
Dad.
Everyone can hear you, you know.
We're on the cusp of something.
The Russians, the Chinese.
They're watching me.
There's a storm coming.
It's all about ghosts, baby.
I'm not scared anymore.
Says, and the caster of the incantation, me, should take not more than 1 sip of tepid urine before the ritual begins.
Welcome, truth seekers, to the periodic table of awesome. How are we all?
Is there anybody out there?
I'm just really excited to be a truth seeker. I just realised I really should have been wearing a beanie for this entire thing.
You should be wearing
I'm
a
really
beanie.
excited that Jill just managed to cut to the chase with what we're doing right in the intro.
Yeah, no beating around the bush this week, guys.
I feel personally attacked by this content, Peter.
But also,
Yes.
lessons learned. Lessons learned.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
of
one
course.
day we will learn not to waffle. Today is not that day.
No, of course, because we're waffling right now. But well,
Yeah,
obviously.
anyway, tell me more about your
Tell us-
waffles. I like waffles. Waffles are one of my favourite.
Ooh, yeah, waffles with strawberry and maple syrup.
Tell us more, Jill.
And
What,
ice cream.
what are we doing today, Jill? What is this? Oh, actually, who are we? Who are
She's
we
already
first?
told us, Dion. We've actually cut to the chase. We don't even have to ask.
I don't ever
So
like.
we are talking about the Amazon original series that is dropping next Friday. Not this Friday, but next Friday, called Truth Seekers.
Just in time for Halloween.
Yes, it's all very spooky.
Yeah,
Ah,
it is.
Spooky. Is it spooky though? So there we go.
a little bit.
A little
It is
bit.
a little bit spooky.
It's kind of spooky.
Yeah.
Well,
It's mysterious and ooky.
It's-
Yeah. I would say more mysterious and ooky than altogether spooky.
Yes. And sadly, nobody at all has gone da-da-da-dun at all.
until you.
We know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, it is the new series from the minds of Simon Pegg and Nick Frost and a bunch of others. And the thing is, I love that everybody goes, "It's Simon Pegg and Nick Frost," and then a bunch of other people. 'Cause,
Aw.
Yeah.
You know, there
Well,
are
that's
a
how
lot
they
of
work.
yeah.
Well, there's a Sarah Finowitz in there.
There is, but it's not Peter Serafinovich.
Yes, I know. It's, hello, Fran. Not that one.
Yes. So yeah, it's James Serafinovich and Nat Saunders who are the other writers on the series, and Jim Field Smith is the director of the whole series, which is a fair, like with 8 episodes. That's a fair task.
Funnily enough, he also directed some episodes. Of
As in
episodes.
the show episodes.
Yes, some of
Yeah,
the.
right.
I see. Yeah.
Oh, yes, there we go.
See, I've known
The
Dion long
episode.
enough to know exactly what he was doing there.
See, that's a pun.
Is that what that
Much
was?
like
I'm
this
not
show,
sure that was
occasionally
a
there are
pun, actually.
puns.
Very confusing phrase.
Yeah, it was a play on words. But anyway, hi Jill, how are you? Are you well?
I'm good, thanks, Quinny. Yeah.
All right. And
How's Peter?
that's my next question.
I'm terrifically well, thank you so much.
Oh,
Excellent.
good.
Now, I do have a question for both of you. This is a question that sort of is, I guess, of a more sartorial nature. It's perhaps a little more tied with the modern oeuvre. What the hell is up with all of the mullets?
What from where?
Oh
Which
my
mullet?
god, okay, yeah. It's mullets are back again. Just like everything comes back around. Mullets are back.
So, Dion, you look confused by this. But
Yes, I do. What are you talking about?
I'm a little bit confused as well.
I'm comfortable sitting here talking about the Truth Seekers. So tell me the truth.
How many mullets did you guys see in Raised by Wolves, though, by the way?
All of them?
Future is full of mullets, yes.
Yeah, it seems to be like the new futuristic hairdo. The 2020 mullet.
So what is it?
But because Emma Darcy, who plays one of the characters in this, is also sporting Astrid is sporting a pretty spectacular mullet, I thought.
Right. So the whole thing that you took away from all 9 episodes of Truth Seekers was there is a spectacular mullet on one of the actors.
Maybe.
Excellent.
I mean,
we'll have some words offline, Quinny, but
say something about me that I didn't even notice this mullet. I thought that
He had a very grown out pixie cut.
Yeah, where I noticed the mullets in Raised by Wolves straight away. Like, that is something that
they were a bit more pronounced.
That went over my head.
You missed the mullet, Dion.
I did. Yeah. I missed all the mullets. I don't know.
Hang on. So if it went over your head, did it stop halfway?
Like I got a real good feel on the sides.
Yeah. But then it really got tangled in the back.
Yeah. And then it just ski jumped off down near my butt.
I've looked up another picture or two of the actress Emma Darcy, and she is rocking a power mullet.
Great.
And I'm like, now there are elements of her character that may explain that, but I'm still not entirely sure that is it a thing?
Probably not a focal point, I'd say, for Truth Seekers. Although, would you like to know what Truth Seekers is about?
Please.
I would love to.
Okay.
Possibly not mullets. Let's find out.
Spooky mullets.
God. Paranormal investigators and amateur mullet enthusiasts set out to film ghost sightings, but as their supernatural experiences grow more frequent, they begin to uncover a conspiracy that could bring about Armageddon for the entire human race. At the tone, the time shall be 7:39.
Thank you.
And now, the shipping news. Fran, are you there? Are you there, Fran?
Are you going to do the entire shipping news for the rest of this podcast?
Sure, why not? I mean, I always throw a Serafinovich joke in there somewhere. But anyway, yes, that's what Truth Seekers is. Truth Seekers, well, I mean, I know that when Amazon decided they were going to start their streaming services, or their service, they don't have multiple yet.
Give it time.
Give it time. There was a lot of commissioning going on everywhere worldwide, and this is one of the ones that I didn't think would get commissioned, but then again, I'm okay with it because it's a bit of comedy.
Yeah.
Yes.
It is. And I think they've done it very well. Yes, I think so. But they've done that smart thing of going, okay, what do nerds love? Nick Frost, Simon Pegg, put them back together. Yes, good, off you go. That's a surefire moneymaker.
And then throw in a whole bunch of references to a whole bunch of niche horror and sci-fi films, and a whole bunch of references to a whole bunch of real conspiracy theories. Throw it all together into a nice little format that has a couple of laugh out louds and a couple of jump scares.
And there you go. There's your show. Collect your pay chop. Pay chop.
That's good. I think that's one of the things that I suppose when I saw it, it was like, oh, it's Nick Frost. Yeah. And it's like, where's Simon Pegg? Oh, he's kind of there. Like, he's going to be there. Like, we're going to definitely give notes to that. But this does not involve Simon Pegg that much.
Simon's so Hollywood now. Like,
yeah. I guarantee you he shot all of his stuff in like 2 days and then was out the door. No, I love to think that is not the case, but it is the thing that like it's been marketed very heavily on is it's the combination of those two again, and to anyone who doesn't know where they're from, the Cornetto trilogy. So that being Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, At the World's End.
World's End.
at World's End, is it?
Yes.
Sorry, I added a the.
Yes, sure. And anything pretty much done by Edgar Wright, especially going all the way back to Spaced and a bunch of other things.
And then after that, they also did Paul together, which was that thing of going, what happens if you do it without Edgar Wright?
Oh, yeah.
Ow. But also, like, I like it's very definitely giving a lot of nods to that historical shows and movies that have come out. Like, I mean, there's definitely the jump cuts, the scares, the music blasts, all that kind of ideology or filmic language that those things made. And then it's throwing in a few of its own sort of things, which I think comes in through the writing mainly. I believe it goes to the writing. Like, some of the jokes are actually a little bit smarter. And I thought the backgrounding, as Peter said earlier, of actually having real world conspiracies thrown in there just to give it a sense of, like, if you were to go and look that up, you'd find some information.
Which is something that I really enjoy, because I think there is enough mystery and weirdness in the world. And there's a whole bunch of really random shit that has happened on this 2,000 years of modern civilization, or whatever you want to call it, that is deeply, deeply strange. And it's fun to just kind of pick little bits out of it and kind of reference it and stuff. What's one of the ones that sort of struck you, Peter, as being, a cultural touch point?
I mean, for me, obviously the conspiracies are fun. I hadn't heard of all of them, but once I cottoned on that they were kind of using real things, I started to look them up as each episode went by. But being a film nerd, I was really enjoying the referencing that was going on. I mean, they get kind of peak Malcolm McDowell value in their film references.
My word.
And he's fantastic. By the way, one of the best things about the series, I think, is Malcolm McDowell.
Fuck you, Four Eyes. Yes.
But yes, the way it's not just the conspiracy references, it's some of the kind of deep film nerd references that get thrown in there. It's very smart, because I could probably watch it again and pick more little things that are actually references to other things. Some of them are just visual. And if you know, you might think, God, that's familiar from somewhere. You really have to kind of, dig out. And then you're like, oh, well, that was that moment from that film that they've just replicated. It's really, I think, quite fun if you're a bit of a nerd in that respect.
Yeah, like one of the ones.
I think they know their audience.
One of the ones I liked was the Numbers Station, the reference to the Numbers Station, which is an actual thing. Is it on AM band? I think it's on the AM band in Britain. There is a cyclical repeating number
and
broadcasting from somewhere that has been doing it since World War II with no, like, it's just going, and they don't know really where that's coming from. It's just probably the hangover from World War II somehow.
Well, they actually did a bit of research on this and found that there was I've been digging deep. You've been getting in there. And that one of those number stations was found many, many, many years later to have been a code station for a Cuban spy who was using this thing to decode particular things. And
obviously, I would expect Cuban spies to be in Britain.
Well, the thing is that I don't think they're exclusive to Britain. They have shown up in other places because it was literally just a radio station broadcasting numbers being read out, and usually read out by a digital voice of some description. And they're great because they're creepy and nobody knows really what they're for apart from the people who set them up.
Yeah.
And maybe they don't actually do anything, but isn't it a weird thing to, it's sort of an X-Files-y kind of thing to go.
Yeah, I mean, I think this whole show, is it a piss take? Like, is it a comedy? Is it a drama? Is it a horror? Sort of, it kind of, it crosses those lines, because I was watching this going, this is going to be funny. Like after the trailer, I was like, that's going to be funny. And then there are moments in there I'm like, this is not funny. That's actually fucking creepy. And then the rest of the time I was like, are they taking the piss out of everything in a bad way, which makes me not like the show? Until I got to a point where I was like, I don't think that they're laughing at me, but I feel like they're very close to.
I didn't think that it was like bad sort of poking fun of, but like lovingly poking fun of the genres.
Yeah,
I'd say I feel like with a parody, which this is, I mean, it's essentially taking off multiple genres. It's half taking off a horror genre and it's half taking off, that YouTube conspiracy investigator genre, if we can call that a genre.
It is, because God knows I've watched a few of those ghost hunter YouTube channels, and whoa.
What do you mean? That's all verifiable fact. I've seen it.
Yeah.
Ghost
YouTube.
hunter or
everything
YouTube
on
channel.
Everything on YouTube.
Yes, YouTube channels
fact.
are verifiably true.
But one of the things that I think makes a parody a good parody is if it can be successful in achieving what the genre it parodies achieves. So if something is parodying a horror and I still get a decent jump scare out of it, I'm like, well done you. Like that, that's kind of cool. But I read it as a parody before anything and as a comedy before anything, but it did sit on an uncomfortable edge of genres where you weren't always sure where you were meant to be.
Which is a difficult thing when you are trying to find a place for it. Do you lean in on the comedy or do you lean in on the genre that you are parodying? And in this one, there are a couple of moments where I was like, I'm like, if you're gonna do the horror, maybe make it a tad scarier, or if you're gonna work the comedy, maybe work your jokes a little bit tighter. Like
the comedy was very highbrow. A lot of the comedy was in the dialogue, and that is actually kind of comedy that I love. ISIS, like is taking that to the next level.
Or
but
just,
it was an odd mix, I think, of that kind of absurd highbrow comedy with that, parody comedy that's more visual.
Yeah, I feel like maybe they were trying to do a little bit too much with their mix of genres. Because towards the end of the episode, they try to kind of bring it back and have like a heartfelt moment between characters, but then at the same time, they're trying to hype it up as a mystery with like high energy suspense. So that kind of dynamic just wasn't really gelling a lot of the time. And I think it was too diopic.
I loved the relationships between the characters, though. I really loved where they were going with that, because I was like, oh, you know what? This isn't a comedy or a parody or a horror. This is a story about friendship and human connection. Oh, I'm liking.
Yeah.
Maybe you can actually.
That's what I'm taking away from it.
Can you back me up on this, Peter? But do you feel like it had a little bit of a Supernatural, the TV series vibe? Where that background music that kind of comes in at the end, and you're wrapping up the episode, and you're having that heartfelt moment where you've connected with the character.
The real treasure was the friends we made along the way.
Exactly.
So just having a look at the characters themselves, lead character is obviously Nick Frost, or Gus, who is a broadband repair person.
In the thing it says apparently he's a lonely guy who has the most boring job you could have, installing broadband. And like, I don't think installing broadband.
The most lonely and boring job you could have could be troubleshooting broadband.
Remote troubleshooting broadband over the phone.
Woe is me. And he's joined by Elton, who is his new...
Sorry, Jez is like, hey, that's my job. Sorry, Jez.
Yep. So Elton, who is his new protege, his ride along, if you want to get... What's the training day?
Training, yeah.
And Elton, what's his last name again?
John.
Yeah.
Elton John.
I love that because I was just like, oh yeah, that's very. And then they just dropped that at the end of one of the episodes. And I literally spat drink and went.
And then they just keep referencing it, going, "This is Elton John," and people are like, "Really?"
Yeah,
like, I'm gonna make a joke here. And they're like, "Yeah, we know." Like, it's go ahead, make that joke.
And so yeah, he's an interesting character with an interesting background that we will come to learn more about. But he's kind of experiencing this whole supernatural thing, and I think does it with a fairly kind of arched eyebrow of like, really, okay, cool. But then the other lead character is Astrid, and she's very interesting. She sort of is kind of our jump off point at the beginning of the whole thing, and I really didn't know what to make of her.
She's like someone that supernatural or things are happening to. Like that's how you could describe her. She's the foil. She's the what's that? Sigourney Weaver in Ghostbusters. She's the person that that is
damsel.
not
But
really.
she doesn't
a
feel
damsel.
very damsel-y.
Yes,
No.
she's just more confused. Ghost Magnet, yes, that's a good one.
Thank you for
It's pretty
thinking
good. Yeah. Ghost Magnet is good. That's a good one.
Yeah. So yeah, she's Catalyst. Thank you. That's a very good one. Catalyst is a very, very good description. And around her, some of the real creepy stuff is kind of where like stuff. There are a bunch of ghosts that you see in the trailer and everything that seem to be kind of centered around her. And I got to be completely honest, they creep the shit out of me.
Sure.
Like there are a few
Yeah, they're a
bits
little
where
bit creepy.
yeah, like there was something like there's a burning person or a burnt sort of corpse thing that keeps appearing. And I was like, oh yeah, that's a bit creepy.
Mental hospital.
Whatever.
Well, this is the thing. I mean, this show sets you up as like, is this a bit of a comedy? It's a piss take. I'm having fun. And then very rapidly just starts going, yeah, here's a few jump scares just to keep you on your toes, hey? Because this is a story about hunting ghosts or the truth. Like, what is the truth? And it's quite violent, I found.
Yeah.
There are a lot of high gore moments.
Yeah. Like,
Very
I mean,
visceral stuff.
much like we loved in Shaun of the Dead when everything was going kasplat, and it was slightly shocking in Hot Fuzz when something terribly gory happened. You're like, oh, this one is a little bit more like ha ha ha. Oh.
Which is exactly what I got from Hot Fuzz. You know, was it on mic that we were talking about the scene in Hot Fuzz where something falls off the roof of the church?
Probably.
I can't remember whether it was on or off mic, but we were. I was talking to somebody about it, going that shocked the hell out of me. Like
this is a very violent moment.
Yeah, and it was comedic, but at the same time, it was still horrifically violent. And you're like, oh Jesus!
I mean, I didn't like the bit where they drop kick the granny in the face, but like, only because I was like, I wouldn't do that to my grandma. But then I was like, ha ha. The one that hurt me physically was the model tower spike through what's his name, James Bond,
Timothy
Dalton's mouth, where he was impaled on it, going, "This really hurts," and I was like, "Oh, it kind of makes me hurt too." Like I'm
watching
Timbo.
Peter squirm just a little bit. And there's elements of that in here too. Like there's an episode where you see a horrible torture device that was used on one of the characters, and you're like, oh God, no, that's coming from the same playbook.
That fork thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're like, oh God, that's like, it's funny. I realize that this is very much sort of cut from a very similar cloth to Hot Fuzz and Shaun of the Dead and The World's End. It does do extreme violence and is also very genre savvy. Like I jokingly put in the ticker, is this the new member of the Cornetto trilogy? And it's more of a drumstick.
It's Cornetto adjacent.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
Cornetto adjacent is good. I feel like we started talking about some of the cast and we got halfway through and forgot about the rest.
We can come back to it.
I do want to mention a special mention to Susie Wakoma as Helen, who plays the sister of Elton, who has a wonderful socialized life as an agoraphobic, which is actually quite well played. Actually, I thought that character was a bit of a one-note sort of idea at the start, and then by the end of it, I was kind of like, actually, that's kind of a cool character. Like she may be an agoraphobic,
I really liked her,
but
she
she
kind
has
of brings most of the heart.
Yeah.
And I'm a big fan of Susan Wokoma because I was only 2 weeks ago complaining that she's been criminally underused in something else that we've talked about. It's like, oh, more Susan Wokoma. Oh, but why isn't there more Susan Wokoma?
And now there is.
Yeah. That was her character. I thought brought a lot of that. What I was saying before about, maybe this is about connection and friendship between Susan Wokoma and Malcolm McDowell, who were the characters that you would least expect to bring that element to it.
Yeah.
But they work so well together, and they kind of play off each other. And what could at any point in time be a creepy moment seems to never ever go there.
Yes,
exactly.
It is just friendship.
Yeah.
They both just want friendship, and those kinds of moments, I think, you kind of get more of them towards the end as there's kind of connections built up between the characters, and you learn more about what the connections between the characters are. So that was something that I kind of really appreciated, and I do wish that they had leaned even more on it than they did.
Yeah, I agree. I think that there are some lovely plot lines that follow her, but I would have liked to have seen those relationships played more or given even more room to grow. But then again, we've got, I assume, another series on the way, hopefully, maybe. I don't know.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, by the end of this, I was kind of like, oh, well, that's kind of a neatly tied up kind of idea of what they were doing, if just in case. Like, I mean, it could quite easily do one series and then that's going. But now I kind of like the characters. I don't want to see them more. Like, I mean, we were talking about Malcolm McDowell, obviously scene stealing in the back, which is amazing. And also Simon Pegg kind of just eating scenery and everything he's in, but also in that really nice way, especially considering they reference his terrible wig in the show in the first episode. When I was like,
what wig?
Yeah, it's like,
what wig?
we're not going to talk about his terrible wig. What wig? Yeah. And also Julian Barrett as Dr. Peter Toynbee. And Toynbee is, again, another reference to a slash conspiracy theorist of the Toynbee tiles.
I'd never heard of.
Yeah.
Our producer, Fel, kind of put a link into something and was like, look up this. And I was like,
yeah, like everything's kind of got that little bit of reference in there, which is kind of amazing.
Had any of you heard of the Toynbee tiles?
No, that's one that I wasn't aware of.
Honestly, I didn't know about any of these conspiracies because I'm not a deep diver on the internet. I just go on there to do what I need to. Like, I had.
What are you talking about? I'm a denizen of the dark web. I'm leet speaking all over the place.
I thought that this was really interesting about how much they were writing a comedy show, but also trying to get that whole idea of, well, YouTubers or people who are making videos on the internet and people who absorb them and read them and do all that kind of stuff. But I also just liked how they were referencing this new visual stuff, like so visual communities with millennials by giving Elton 101,000 X jobs. Like he always knew something about anything that they'd come across because he was like, oh yeah, I just did some work for some time with that. Like
he knew a little bit about a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I was an arborist for a bit. It's like, so you haven't actually had a steady job. Nope. I'm still, looking for a job. It's like, but you've worked everywhere for about 2 or 3 days.
I've got to say, I enjoyed seeing Julian Barrett back again because he's now got a 100% through line of weird dudes who are just creepy enough, but are also kind of funny and a lot pathetic.
I think that they're actually his own turtlenecks that he wears in every single show. Not that they're bad.
Yes, no, but he is born to wear turtlenecks, isn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. Like it's kind of, I remember him from what was that, Nathan Barley, where he was regular shirt, but then I think he got to a Mighty Boosh and just went, turtlenecks are my jam. And I'll just wear what I have at home, shall I?
Yeah, and then he did a brief 1 or 2 episode stint in Killing Eve, and I was like, oh yeah, no, that's the perfect role for you. And now I feel like he's really settled into a groove. And that groove is creepy dudes who you probably don't want to hang out with.
Well, that could be me. I don't know who that was.
I don't know who's beeping, but now it's beeping and it's all happening.
It's a phone buzz of the ages. We're getting alerts from our YouTube channel.
Yeah,
that's just what's happening.
See, that was one of the things that I did struggle with occasionally was the beeping. I struggled a bit with the.
You're just doing it on purpose now, Jill, aren't you?
Don't know what you're talking about.
I'll know the truth here.
We're seeking the truth.
9, 7.
I struggled a little bit with some of the not tech references, but the kind of idea of how either tech savvy or non-tech savvy people are. There are a couple of times where I was like, this seems occasionally written by somebody who didn't know what the fuck they were talking
about. Didn't know your RJ45 from your 3.2 coax, mate?
That kind of stuff, I was like, yeah, I probably believe it. But there was a moment in the first episode that made me go, and it was just that thing of, this was written by somebody who didn't consult a nerd. And it was a tiny thing that is that particular molehill I am willing to die on. So basically, in the first episode, somebody says, Helen says that she hasn't been able to go outside. She's been watching all 3 of the Hobbit trilogy. And then she says, have you finished it? No, I didn't even get to the Mines of Moria. What's wrong with that picture?
What?
Is it not in
the Mines of Moria in the Hobbit trilogy?
You do.
They're in Lord of the Rings. And I was just
if
like,
she has never watched all of the Hobbit trilogy, she wouldn't know that.
True.
Because the gag is she's never got through it.
True, but
that's how I corrected that in my head.
Or was she talking about? Yeah, like anyway, but maybe that's the thing. Maybe they did that. They threw it into the whole,
just to annoy me.
To annoy people on the internet, because this show is literally about people who are on the internet instead of
yeah, true.
Honestly, it is, and maybe they just threw it in there to annoy it, to have people go, the Mines of Moria are not in the Hobbit.
Yeah, if that's the one issue they've got with the show, that's okay. Just let them shout into the void.
I'm shouting. All right. No. But it was one of those brief things where, and it was like watching a show that had been written for an audience. And this is kind of my thing of like the Big Bang Theory. You know, Big Bang Theory was originally written essentially making fun of its audience.
I think it never stopped.
Well, yeah. That it's about nerds. Aren't nerds funny? Poke fun at nerds. And I had a brief moment with that where I was like, this is from the outside looking in. This is making fun of nerds, of the Gusses of the world. And if you don't kind of love the people that you're spending the time with, you can alienate them. And I did have a brief moment of going, oh shit, have they chosen to make fun of their people as opposed to actually embracing them and loving them, especially Helen, because she has so many things that you could very easily be difficult character traits. You know, the agoraphobia and everything like that. She could be a very easy butt of a joke. And that moment worried me, but then they managed to kind of bring it around and make me kind of go, oh no, we're cool.
It was true about that. I got a fair bit of that as I was watching all of the first season, I think, in one sitting, like one after the other, sort of going, where are they going here? Like, what are they going to do? And watching it in an episodic kind of way might have made me kind of switch off after a little while, but knowing that you can watch them quickly. And also they're very easy to consume. I just want to say, this is a good thing. Like, I like the fact that it is 20 minutes television that is easy to watch. I enjoyed that one quite a lot. So that was a good thing. But yeah, after a while, it was like I got into the rhythm of it. I think by the end of it, you were getting into the point where you're like, oh, this is actually kind of quite nice about each other and a little bit more horrific than I thought than it started with. But, you know, you got to get your hook somewhere.
Yeah, and I think that it sort of shifts genre fairly successfully, like, you know, where each episode kind of has a different take on a different part of the horror genre.
Yeah.
You know, we're going to try medieval horror, or now we're going to kind of do voodoo magic or something like that. You know, it's a different style of ghost story.
Yeah, here's some Evil Dead bit. Here's a creepy doll. Here's like, it is literally, I like that it had a little checklist of like, what are all the things that we're going to put in this show? Okay, ghosts, fire demons, like no overt Satanism, but definitely references to that. Like, here's a book made of human flesh and written in blood. Like, come on.
Yeah, Necronomicons.
Yeah.
But then also comic book conventions.
Sure. Speaking of comic book conventions, well, considering we're not really going to be doing a spoilery section at the moment, because that would be rude, considering it's not out yet.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, we're going to tell you all about this character. We're going to talk about what happens at the end of episode 8.
Do you want to have we've got a quick clip of the first time that we have Elton and Astrid going to a comic book convention. I think some of the interesting stuff about this one is that this is when they have to film it for Helen, for Elton's sister Helen, who just wants them to film the convention because the agoraphobia is kicked in. She just needs to see it before she can get to go to it. Anyway, it's quite sweet. Here, get a bit of a taste of
Truth Seekers.
Truth Seekers.
So, what are we going to do first?
So we just need to get some general footage for Helen, and then we could...
Sake. Kevin McCarthy cameoing in Philip Kaufman's 1978 remake of Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Spot on. Most people don't get it.
He's an actor, it's roleplay.
Yeah, I knew that. Have you guys ever had an immersive horror experience?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, if you fancy it, there's more inside. You have to find it, though, makes it a bit more fun. If it gets too scary, the safe word is fire.
That's a safe word, sorry, fire. You don't think that might just cause further panic?
Well, do you think so?
Never mind, I think we'll be okay.
Excuse me.
Come on.
Wait, why do we need a safe word? Why do we need a safe word?
Buy mine sci-fi con.
Buy mine sci-fi con. Which is funny because this has been two weeks of reviews about things that actually have a scene where they're at a convention. Just one is very American and one is very British, and that gives you...
They both did a number on me because I was like,
I absolutely. But I actually love the fact that Helen's costume is a Dalek, and they don't have to go around that because basically everyone in England can use Daleks because fuck it. Everyone knows what it is. It's such a huge property.
that was an interesting one, actually, but considering the rights to Daleks were actually tied up in some fairly serious legal shit for a long time.
Sure.
I was kind of surprised that they actually allowed that to go through.
Who knows? Look, maybe it was because it was someone's home-built cosplay of a Dalek that it got around certain things. I don't know. I'm not a lawyer person.
There's still actually licensing issues about the actual, like, ethical... What do you say? Like the ethical whatever you have it around cosplay, because it is actually recreating a licensed product and it's illegal. So
don't know, Jill. That sounds like law shit to me.
It's a lot of law shit.
I wouldn't know because my cosplay is generally confirmed, which is just me in a kimono and sunglasses looking.
Hang on,
like
you
Klaus.
have actually cosplayed
Have
as
I?
Nick Frost.
I did. I did.
I was going to say,
I forgot that you and I went there. We went as the swapped Simon Pegg and Nick Frost, or Ed and Sean, sorry, and Sean from Shaun of the Dead to the Sydney Zombie Walk back when you could be around other people without contracting something. Yeah, I even ordered the I Got Wood T-shirt off eBay. And walked around in it going, yeah, I remember that. Sorry, that's about all I've done as a cosplay. I worked at a cosplay convention, at a convention for years and never cosplayed, which is terrible. I should do it at least.
I don't know. When you work at them, it's generally a bit difficult to cosplay unless you're actually paid to do so, Jill.
Yeah.
Lethal.
And even then, it's stressful.
Well, that's an interesting one. Then, Peter, you've never cosplayed at a convention, have you?
I've never cosplayed at anything.
What would you go as to a convention cosplaying as? What would you like to? You don't have to Sorry to put you on the spot, but
yeah, this is not something that I've put that much thought into. Beck has recently got me completely obsessed with Disney bounding as a concept. So, I've gone deep into what outfits that I would do for that.
Sure, you're allowed to do that, but you said just pick one. No, too many. All of them.
Jill, back me up here. I can't just pick.
I know it is.
There are so
really
many
hard
things.
to choose. There is. There's a lot. There's millions of things.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. There are too many things.
To anyone who doesn't know what Disney bounding is, can you give us a quick idea as to what that is?
Beck has just recently introduced me to this concept that you can't wear costumes to Disney parks because it's dangerous for the children to have people who don't work there looking like people who do work there. But people who really love Disney and want to experience Disney and bring their part to it through some kind of costuming, put together day-wear street outfits that give a nod to the Disney characters. And it's lovely and it's very creative, and I love it as a concept very much. As
using the color palettes,
and troll who probably would never be able to cosplay, I think that I could Disney bound, and that excites me.
Yeah, it's definitely inspiration outfits based on a character. So if you were to take Ariel, for example, probably a red wig with a purple t-shirt and green pants or something like that. Something that is very obviously looks like the character, but not the actual character's costume.
Sorry, I was just looking around to see whether I could see a beanie so that I could Disney bound as Gus.
Probably could.
Yeah. I love the idea of the Disney bounding too, because it's Dion. I think I've actually seen you do it once or twice as Han Solo.
It's like a closet Han Solo.
Yeah, that's it. It's closet cosplay, but it's just
sure, it looked nothing like him.
Yeah, but you don't have to. You just have to wear things that are reminiscent of.
Reminiscent of.
Yes, exactly. And was it legally separate and distinct?
Yes, exactly. Those are keywords.
Yeah.
There's that law talk again.
Yeah, sorry. Anyway, back to Truth Seekers.
Yeah, Seekers of the Truth.
Moved away from a little bit. I loved the interesting relationships between Malcolm McDowell, so Richard and Gus, which you find out, later on that there's a lot more layers to it than just a simple parental kind of thing.
I liked that. That was actually, and obviously stuff that I don't, not even going to spoil it all. But from when they brought it in, it existed really well as just a very simple comedic conceit.
Yeah,
old man lives with younger man and they kind of get on each other's nerves. But then there's a little bit more in there too. By the end of it, you're kind of like, oh, that's sweet. That's just a nice wholesome part of the back end there. And more ghosts.
Yep. So there is a question that I do kind of have, and it's relating to one of the ghosts that actually creeped me out a little bit. For lack of a better term, plague doctor, or the
the one with the very bird-like mask face.
Yeah. Did that get explained?
No.
Not really. But that's part of the fun of it.
Okay,
Like,
cool.
you know,
Because I was like, I'm trying to think whether I missed something or not, because that image, the imagery of the mask and that sort of thing, I found really arresting and really quite, I don't like it.
Yeah.
It reminded me of a podcast that I listened to for quite a long time called Tanis, which is Lovecraftian horror done through a podcast, a bit like Serial or whatever. And yeah, there are these people who are wearing these big bird masks, and there's something about that image, the Plague Doctor image, that I found really off-putting, but good. So,
oh, well, you'd love Bly Manor then. They've got one of those.
Oh, good. I guess I'd better get onto that then, shouldn't I?
Cool. Did anyone else have a favorite sort of ghost that doesn't give anything away too much? No.
In this series?
I like the creepy doll.
Okay,
Come on, that's
yeah.
it's kind of fun.
Dolls and clowns are my weakness, and yeah, that doll was a little bit creepy. But I was also kind of in awe of, like, it was kind of cute.
Yeah. I also like the medium that they go to at one point. Remember when they go there to have her exercised? Talk to. I'm just gonna smudge some sage around the kitchen. It's like, she was quite good. I would like to see that medium again, please, because I thought she was funny as hell.
Yeah. And I imagine from a certain price, you could see her again anytime you like.
Excuse me. We all got to make ends meet here, Quinny.
Yeah, I wasn't making.
Also,
any
one of the things I actually really liked about this series is telling stories of very dull, very small people. And one of my favorite things about all sorts of like film and television where I am enjoying myself, I like seeing stories about small people, and not in a diminishing, terrible way. Like just
not vertically challenged small people.
No, not that way. But you mean like extraordinary things can happen to ordinary people. You don't necessarily have to have a prerequisite from there. And I think that's mainly because of all of the like American movies and television that I've grown up with, where it was always middle class person has a problem and it's only ever their drama. So I liked this because it was not that. It's very working class. It's very don't have a lot of money, just getting on with stuff, and this interesting thing happens, and it can do, and it's nice. And in the end, they don't become rich, famous, solve the world, end up in a giant house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. They are. It's sort of kitchen sinky almost, but not.
Yeah,
you know, it's kitchen sink end of the world.
There is a banality to it.
Compared to I've also been watching things like Lovecraft Country, which also has some themes along the same line as this series. This has been very interesting. Two totally different stories, but also dealing with witchcraft and end of the world stuff.
There is a character who's introduced partway through that I was intrigued by, and like it's difficult to talk about some of the things because they do kind of head towards spoiler territory. But
do your best.
There are characters sort of introduced as you go that broaden the whole kind of thing out, and then at the same time make you really uncertain as to where they're going and what the next season may hold for us. And I mean, it's leaning pretty heavily towards there should probably be a next season. And I hope there is, because there's a character who you'll come to know as Jojo, who I want to know more about a lot. Also, I was trying to work out whether or not they're the voice of Brave. Because they've got a wonderful Scottish accent, but at the same time, I'm like, do I just hear any woman with a Scottish accent as the voice of Brave?
I don't know. I need to look her up because I swear to God, I do recognize her voice from something.
Yeah,
else.
That was the thing. I was like, and I'm not sure whether it's the actual voice of the character in Brave or whether it's just the one who does Merida. Thank you. Sorry, I was drawing a blank on that one. Or whether it was just the version of it that does all of those Scottish swearing clips. I know I can't remember any of them, but it's great. You can find it. Merida swearing in Scottish is just an amazing thing.
I think, are you talking about Kelly MacDonald?
Yes, it is. She is the voice of Brave. I was right. Of Merida.
Merida.
Just in case, who's been in a fair few other things, including some Black Mirror.
Yes,
and Harry Potter and other stuff.
Train
small,
spotting.
Small
Harry
shit.
Potter. Yeah. Yes. I knew it. I was like, fuck, I know that voice. So anyway, keep an eye out for her. Anyhow, what other things do we like, or what do we think could have been improved?
Well, the CGI is very British. Sorry, it is though. You love that. Like, Jesus, come on.
Yeah, I forgive the CGI from a show that doesn't feel like it was ever going to be huge budget.
No.
Like this, it doesn't feel like it falls at the budget point for flawless CGI. It's more about the story for me. I'll let it go.
It does look pretty though. Like, I had to admit, it was very consistently filmic in its attempt. Like in the way that it came across. That the whole season gave, and saying there was bad CGI is very unforgiving, considering some of the practical and makeup effects are actually really quite good and backed up by CGI, because that made them scary.
Yeah, I mean, it does have a bit of that kind of Doctor Who kind of feel where
if Doctor Who was fucking terrifying.
Yes, yeah.
Because I'm still upset about the dog, but you'll get to that eventually. Yeah, remember? Yeah, that's not a fun time.
Yeah.
And remember what happens after we find the dog? And then there's a little scene where the thing happens in the doorway, and everyone goes, "Oh God, that's not right."
Yeah,
and then it's not explained.
No,
no reference to it again.
It has no qualms about leaving a lot of dangling plot threads.
Sure. Yeah, and that is okay, because I mean, it'd be interesting if they could get back to a second season and start to wrap those up again, because I think there's enough threads. If they can find another through kind of line, it's great.
Yeah,
that could work. The characters are interesting enough and likable enough to want to spend more time with them. I didn't, I wasn't fully engaged all of the way through. Maybe it was a little long, or maybe it just needed to or maybe it was because it was falling in the cracks between some genres that it was harder to settle into it than it would have been if it was just, it's this one thing and it is what it is, and this is the ride that you're on, because you're kind of switching from ride to ride sometimes. I found that I had to work a little bit to be fully engaged all the way through.
I think that was just mainly the sugar highs and lows, Peter, because we did watch some of this as a group and ate what is probably considered an extraordinary amount of sugar on that day. It was delicious, but also
what form of sugar were you eating?
There was caramel corn, there was homemade ice cream, there was weird Monte Carlos. Anyway.
No, I'm really sad I wasn't there.
You could have been.
I know. But anyway, I occasionally had moments where I kind of thought, and it happened less as the series went on, where I thought performances were in need of another take, like where things didn't quite gel for me, or like a punchline didn't quite land. And there were a couple of times where I was just like, I would have had another go at that. I think you could mine more out of that. Not necessarily bad, but just things that don't quite gel.
Yeah.
Which is perhaps intentionally weird. And funnily enough, a lot of those sequences seem to be around Simon Pegg. Where I was like, I don't necessarily feel like this is really hitting its stride.
I definitely felt like Simon Pegg had filmed all of his scenes in one day.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he was just in like one zone for the whole of his scene.
Yep.
Yeah.
I believe that they would have been like, right, we've got Simon for today.
Yeah. And then we're going to do a couple of exteriors with him sometime next week.
Oh, what was his assistant's name? I forgot.
Bjorn.
Bjorn, that's right. Who just
Fucking Bjorn.
can't, who just can't not throw a swear word into every sentence.
Really? Really?
I have to admit to being a little bit confused by the end. It felt like, you know, some threads were tied up a little hastily. For me, and some explanations are maybe a little bit too explanation-y.
Yeah.
But that, again, that could just be me because I'd struggled a little bit with engagement. Maybe I missed a couple of clues along the way. So, and, you know, because I was distracted by caramel popcorn and homemade ice cream. But overall, like, I think it's a watchable watch. I think it's something that I would recommend that people watch if they're into these kinds of genres, because there's enough fun. There's enough fun in there to kind of make it worth your time.
Definitely. Yeah, I found it very fun. I loved the sweet little moments, like whenever they're at someone's place, like, would you like a cup of tea? I'll put the kettle on. I'm like, oh, that's just like,
let's take her a bath.
Such a cute little British thing, and it's like, do you have a cuppa?
I did like that one too. And the bath. I was like, can I run you a bath? What?
Yeah, that was weird.
What?
I just wish that they'd leaned a little bit harder into the satirical and the parody. It reminded me a lot. I don't know if you guys have seen Garth Marenghi's Dark Place.
Yeah.
It's quite a like heavy-handed satirical like parody look at horror and comedy. But I mean, the storyline was great, and the characters, the way they all worked together, and like the overall like arching plotline, I found was really quite interesting to each individual story throughout. So yeah, I found it a really enjoyable watch.
Yeah. I would agree. I think it's a happy one to kind of jump on, and it's just in time for Halloween. So if you are looking at your Halloween weekend and going, hey, what can I do that's going to be that perfect, you know, a happy blend of a bit funny and a bit goofy and a bit scary, this is, you know, absolutely spot on.
If you can't handle like deep dark horror, like stuff like Haunting of Hill House and Bly Manor that are plug also out on Netflix at the moment that I am loving. If you can't handle those, this is probably like a very nice entry level kind of horror film.
Yes. Yeah. I did like Pretty Kangaroos. It's like, oh, you've mentioned Dark Place. Yes. And I'm like, yes, Dark Place. Garth Marenghi's Dark Place is great. And I agree, Jill. I think this is kind of like if Garth Marenghi's Dark Place had a budget, even though it was trying to do it as not a budget, if there was like even small, anyway, it's great.
Yes, I'm astonished that more review shows haven't mentioned Dark Place. But then again, I mean, we were talking about that a long time ago, back in TPTOA days.
Yes, Garth Marenghi's Dark Place, also Snuffbox. Sort that one out.
Wow. Jesus.
Give you the deep dark rabbit hole.
Or is it Jam?
Jam.
Jam. Britain has
big train.
Sorry,
big train. There's a bunch of shit out there.
Yeah, Britain. I love that there is a thing in Britain that says we can do comedy and we can layer it with horror in a interesting way. You know, you look at something like Jam, or you even look at episodes in Spaced, or God, what was the other one? Oh, League of Gentlemen. You know, it's horror inflected comedy where the ideas are kind of creepy and a little bit weird, and you know, you are kind of doing horror, but you're doing it with that wry smile and a bit of a this is kind of funny, isn't it?
Always managed to make like amazing cult following kind of TV.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's so good.
It's good. It's
right.
good.
Well, I think we should probably do a rating of some description.
And tell people if they should watch it.
Well, I think we've been discussing whether we should watch it, and a general consensus is yes.
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 Maybe.
Yeah.
Potentially.
Yeah.
Who's going to start? Are you going to start, Quinny? You brought it up.
Yes, I am going to rate this one 85. I really had a lot of fun with it. There were occasional moments where I was just like, that didn't quite land for me, or that was not as scary as I think they wanted it to be, or that laugh wasn't quite there, but I still enjoyed it throughout. And by the time it came tromping along to the last couple of episodes, I was actually quite involved. It's funny, I started watching and accidentally skipped to the last episode.
Oh.
Well, yeah, and I kind of was sort of watching, and I was like,
I've missed something.
I feel like, yeah, because it sort of it has a cold open that was kind of like, oh, okay, and then it went into this thing, and I'm like, oh shit, something. Oh no, damn it, I've missed something, and so I then had to go back an episode
and started watching Raised by Wolves at episode 3, going, this is strange.
So yeah, 85 from me. And it was lovely seeing my parents again together.
Oh,
it's nice to see Papa Nick and Papa Simon both hanging out with each other, and I'm still waiting for the alimony. Or whatever it is, child to support. So somebody else rate it before I've made it any more awkward.
I'm going to give it an 80 out of 100. I enjoyed it. I would have liked the horror to have been more scary, because that's something I crave. And what else is the other thing? Oh, just like a little bit punchier, I guess. Like the comedy to hit a bit harder, and the horror to be more scary.
Yeah, I'm with Jill. I was thinking around 80 for me, only because, like I said, I did have trouble fully engaging with it, and I think that's because just the balance of where the genres were falling for me was just a bit off. I would have preferred, maybe a little more comedy, or a little more of that kind of, heartwarming human stuff, a little more Susie Wacona, because we can all always use that.
Yes.
If you want a little more Susie Wacona and you haven't seen Crazy Head and you like comedy horror, then that's another one that you can jump into while you're waiting for this to come out on Amazon. So yeah, it's an 80 for me. I still think it's worth a watch.
Yeah.
You're good. I can't say no to that. I'm actually down for 80 as well. I was like, I had a lovely time with this. I finished the season and I was like, I'll watch another season of that. It was good. Yeah, I think you're quite right in the sort of weird pacing and some of the storylines that were just a little bit, or some of the times you're watching it, it drops a little bit. And then I think it's just rescued by some of the throwaway lines. Like some of the writing is actually so strong, and they've done it in such a way that they'll throw it away, which rescues anything that you're kind of getting bored by. Like occasionally, like, I'm dulled. This has dulled me. And instead of doing a jump scare, they'll just do a really clever line, and you're like, oh, I get that. But also, it's got a real love for the horror / scary story. Scary story kind of genre, because they reference everything. They love conspiracy theorists, they love conventions, they love interesting stories, and whatever they can do to just cram it in there without directly referencing it, they do. So yeah, I'll give it 80 too. Like, it's great. Like, yeah, watch Truth Seekers. Is it worth your time? Sure, it's bite size. You can if you can watch conspiracy YouTube videos, you can watch Truth Seekers. And you will either get more questions answered, or a whole lot more questions to ask the actual conspiracy theorists.
Yes, and I think by the end of it, you're going to find that you're kind of invested in the characters, and will probably be very excited for seeing some more. It's funny, like, this is because it was nice and short and bite-sized. I finished it, and there've been a lot of other shows that I've started this year, and have just kind of petered off. Where I'm like, oh, I'll come back to that, and then I don't. And this was really nice to just finish something.
Like,
this is not another C.
Or Utopia.
Or Utopia.
Well, speaking of seeing things,
for me.
Yeah.
Oh, come on, get to the end.
Get to the end because we want to talk about the weird shit.
I'm sorry. I've only done one episode. I'm never getting to the end.
I think I watched 3. I couldn't do it.
Come on. I need people to talk to about it.
and Dion and I have spent enough time looking at each other going, what the fuck was that about?
What the fuck was that all about? Yeah. Well, speaking of seeing, what are we seeing next time?
We are looking into the stars. And
are we?
Yes, well, we are. We're talking to a girl, a star girl. That's what we're talking about. I'm just going to stop fucking around and call it. We're talking about Stargirl.
Yeah.
Excellent. Next Tuesday, we're going to talk about... As requested, we're going to talk about Stargirl. Yes.
Yeah, Michael Stutter in WA has put in a request. Now, I know that there are other people who have put in requests for Avatar multiple times. And eventually we'll get around to it.
Yes, at the moment
Not me, though.
There he is, Casper, Avatar. There you are.
I've gotten to the point where people have tried to make me watch that show numerous times, and I've not done it. Then I'm just putting my foot down. I'm never ever going to watch it.
Oh wow!
Yep.
Sorry, Casper. Chilled out.
You can't make me. I'm not going to do it.
She is Audi 5000 on this one.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. There's only 13 episodes of Stargirl. I mean, to be fair, if I can get through fucking Utopia and see...
Oh, Stargirl's much easier to watch than Utopia.
And I know nothing of...
Pretty Kanga makes a good point. The new Star Trek Discovery started this week. First episode's out, and there is a gigantic cat in it.
That was...
Giant space cat?
Yep,
Kind
called
of?
Grudge.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes. You can't hold a grudge.
Yeah, well, you can't because he's a big fuck off cat.
Competing for favourite space cat of Lion Cat. So we'll see.
Oh, yes.
Yes. Sorry. Yeah. My favorite space cat is Lion Cat at the moment. If someone could cosplay Lion Cat, that'd be great. Or we'd look at that character from Dragon Ball Z.
Okay.
I don't get that reference.
Oh.
All right, Quinny.
Wow.
I'll loan you the comics, Quinny. You can read Saga. It's so good.
Oh, lying.
Yeah.
Right. I thought you said Lion Cat.
Lion.
Lion. And I was like, I don't get that. Lion Cat, I guess.
Lion
yes.
Cat.
Lion-O. You get that reference? Yeah. Okay. Great.
Yes.
Well,
Okay,
that's
well, thank you.
interesting.
Thank you for joining us. It's been a pleasure. What are the things that we need to ask them to do?
What?
Do they need to do the Instagram,
this one.
the Facebook, the email? They need to send us feedback because we want feedback.
Sure.
Please.
Not critical feedback, just feedback.
No, I'm even okay with critical feedback. You know what? You can call us names if you want to. We just want your feedback.
Sure.
Don't call me names.
See, well, okay,
We're
obviously.
looking to invite Quinny, but okay.
Quinny's
look,
desperate for that one right now.
Don't forget,
shout us
we're
a
on
Ko-Fi.
YouTube.
That'd be nice. Buy us a coffee.
Yeah, that would be most appreciated. Yes, we are on the YouTubes too.
Yeah.
So if you are used to listening to the podcast and think, I'd like to see what they were doing
again
when we were talking and making all those silly noises, you can go and watch us on YouTube. Yeah, see, look at the beautiful faces that you can now see on YouTube. Yeah.
You too can, and you can ask us questions like, how did the Brady Bunch have a Zoom call back in the 20 years ago, 30 years
Nobody
ago?
knows.
We don't know that.
What face does Peter make when Dion makes those kinds of jokes?
Can't tell. You're just like a series of shapes to me, Pete.
That's actually perhaps one of the things I've enjoyed the most in my time doing this, is
It's
watching
just like-
Peter's face as she deals with the unexpected territory that is Dion's mind.
It's very
Just
unexpected.
strong dad joke energy. I do like it, but I also like reacting to it.
Yes. And I thoroughly enjoy watching your reactions. It's one of my favorite things.
Yes. Yes.
Right.
All right.
Okay.
Excellent.
Well, I have been Quinny.
I've been Dion.
I've been Jill.
I've been Peter.
And I'm just going to
Thanks
put
for joining us.
Thanks for joining us. Bye.